Morning, everyone, my friends. Happy Monday. Oh, I couldn't figure out what that little thing was across my llama head. It's my cut and emboss machine. I'll set that down out of the way so I can trip over it when we're done. I hope everyone had a great weekend. So today is Monday, November the 9th, and we are filming this in Clark, Pennsylvania, where it's another beautiful day. Hard to believe Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and we're having such pretty days. This past weekend we had our Stampin' Up conference or convention, which is called On Stage, and last year I got to go to Lansing, Michigan for my first On Stage, and this year with COVID, Stampin' Up gave us On Stage at home. And so as a demonstrator, we had the opportunity to get a swag bag before the event, and so when our packages came, we had one of the new stamp sets that will be available in the new mini catalog that's coming out, and they had some fun-filled little treats in there. We had some notebooks and a rainbow pen, just really nice when you like different color. Oh, Sissy's here to help us today. And we have, we got our on-stage trading pins, although I don't think I'll trade. I like to keep my pins. So this is my second year of on stage. And the only bad thing about doing it at home was the interruptions. So I did miss a few things, but the good thing about doing on stage at home is excuse me, that everything was videotaped, and demonstrators who registered for On Stage have those videos available to them until the end of January, so I can get caught up. During the event, there are lots of demonstrators who give excuse me, presentations on how to use stamp sets. You get sneak peeks at the new products coming out, and Thursday night began with awards and recognition for demonstrators who have reached milestones, $1 million sellers, milestone anniversaries, top sellers in all the countries, and Stampin' Up also greeted us with a little private concert that was just wonderful. Pat Benatar and her husband performed from their private studio for us, and I hope I can hold my age like she has. She is so beautiful and still sings like she did when we listened to her years ago. Of course, my son didn't know who she was when I told him how excited I was, but as soon as I played a song, then he knew who it was. So I'll show you a couple of the cards that we made during our session with one of the new upcoming stamp sets. And then next week what I want to do is, because obviously we don't have this stamp set available yet, as a demonstrator we do, but our customers do not have this yet. So I kind of want to show how we can use some of the techniques and the designs that we were shown using old stamp sets that we might already have. And I'll probably continue with my Christmas stamps. So this was our one card that we made with some of the new designer series paper and this really pretty Mossy Meadow braided trim. We did this one on Blackberry Bliss. We were given our paper dimensions in advance and told what pieces we would need to have ready so that when the session began, we were able to jump right in and stamp along with the demonstrator. So that was one. This was another one that we made. I don't know if you can see the cute little ladybugs on there. Aren't they cute? And then this was the third one. So we'll be looking forward to that stamp set in the new mini catalog coming out. Remember, if you've ordered from me in the past, you're already on my mailing list and you'll be getting that new catalog. If you need a catalog and you don't have a demonstrator, please email me so that I can get you added to that, because I'm gonna finish up my mailing list for those probably within the next week or so here. What else was I going to tell you? I can't remember right now. So this morning was a little hectic because I had said today I wanted to try to use the Poinsettia Petals Suite, and I did that yesterday. I started making my cards, and in the suite, which is in the holiday mini catalog on pages 14 and 15, we get our designer series paper. I think I need to, if I can get this a little lower. And we get the stamp set and the coordinating dies. And there's also a specialty paper that is sort of a white flocked paper on kind of a vellum, I guess. I saved a couple of those pieces out here to show you. And so you can see that it's really soft. And some of the pieces are just design. Some of them are the leaves, and some of them are a poinsettia. And in keeping with Stampin' Up's new practice, some of those dies cut the pieces right out of the vellum. They coordinate perfectly. So there was one that I had cut out, and then I thought, well, I wanted to add some color to it. So I used the Stampin' Blends, and I don't think I have my Bumblebee Stampin' Blend yet. So I just used So Saffron, and it started to come out pretty good. I'll forewarn you though that if you're not careful with the Stampin' Blends, it will peel the flocking off of the vellum. So if you're gonna add some color to the soft pieces, just do it very lightly. And what else? We got, oh, these beaded pearls, which are beautiful. But I spent 2 hours looking for mine yesterday because I was an idiot and of course put them someplace so I knew where I would find them, and then I couldn't find them. I did eventually later, but in the meantime, I went through my stash to see what am I going to use in place of those. And I had some of these old, what were these? Metal rimmed pearls. So I thought, well, if nothing else, I can always use that for my poinsettia center. A little bit big, but it would work. Well, there are some smaller ones. I guess I could have tried that. That's okay. And I also found I still had some Winter Wonderland snowflakes, and I thought that would be pretty in the center also. But lo and behold, after 2 hours, I turned around and looked, and the beaded pearl elements were on the shelf right behind me. So I was able to add one to my poinsettia on the card we're going to make today. So this morning yesterday I was determined one of my cards would also include the Real Red sheer ribbon, and that's where I ran into trouble. Because no matter what I did, I didn't like my card that I was coming up with. So I did make a card. It's not my favorite. And then this morning I had a doctor appointment early this morning, and I was thinking, what can I do instead of that card? And I came up with another design. So as soon as I got home, I started putting the other card together. And I think I like it better. So this was our stamp set, and this has 18 stamps in it. My one card that we're gonna make, I did use the poinsettia stamp, and then I die cut it out. A couple of the cards are just die cut, and they really didn't need anything extra. And these are a mess. Sorry, like I said, I just got done cutting things out here before it was time to get started. So these are all of the dies in this set. And I heard some people saying that they were having trouble lining up the inside die with the outside die, and that they were using Sharpies or Stays on ink to line the, oh, mine is worn off already, to line up one side so they would always know when they went to die cut how to put the pieces together. Well, so far I've worn off a Sharpie and I wore off the Stays on, and I got, even after letting it sit all night, the Stays on got on the rollers of my die cut machine, and so I had a little bit of a mess going on with that. Ended up getting ink on a couple of my cut pieces and had to redo them. But the two dies that cut the pieces out, I don't know if you can see, one of the dies embosses the veins inside the petals, and then the other one, there's some ink right there, and then the other one cuts the outside of the poinsettia out. And because these are embossed a little bit, it's easy just to take your finger and bend the petals a bit to give your flower some dimension. And so we've done that on pretty much most of our cards today. So when we layer the 3 different sizes of petals together, we're going to end up getting, I'll save that other one for last because it's my favorite. We end up getting a poinsettia that has a lot of dimension to it. You can see the petals are curled just enough, and I used the pearl center. I die cut, well, I stamped the leaf stamp on old olive and then die cut them, and I was able to also bend them with my fingers a little bit on the embossed lines to give them some dimension. So it's a really, really nice die set. And I will show you first, I guess we'll start with the one that I did yesterday that I wasn't all that happy with, and then we'll get into the one that I made this morning to do in its place. So the one that I did yesterday, I wanted to cut the flower out of the flocked paper and use that poinsettia on my card, and I thought that would be nice if I used the wood grain designer series paper on the background. So I got my, and maybe this is why I'm not liking it. When I cut my wood grain and I layered it onto a soft suede panel, I decided I was going to use a very vanilla card base and added my red ribbon. And this is another one of the dies that works with the designer series paper. So I cut a few of those berries out and put my card all together, and then I was not happy. And I don't know if it's because my poinsettia is white and all of the rest of the card elements are on very vanilla. And here's the berries on the designer series paper that just cut out very easy with the one die. Was this one right there. So you can cut the pieces out and use those on cards too. The large poinsettia die also cuts out. It's this one. No. So as you find a full flower, that one will work right there. You could cut your piece of designer series paper out and then use the die to trim out the poinsettia. So instead of doing that, I used some bumblebee ink and stamped a poinsettia and then cut it out because I wanted to make it dimensional also. And remember, on the back of designer series paper packets, we're reminded of what colors coordinate with the paper. So we had bumblebee, garden green, old olive, real red, soft suede, and whisper white. And the yellow tint that you see on this one is the bumblebee, but I still think that the background looks pretty on very vanilla. So this morning, then I decided I still wanted to do something with soft suede and make it a little bit like kind of naturey type cards. So we came up with this one, and I stamped my poinsettias layering them. We don't have a stamp for the biggest first layer, so maybe I should have cut one of those out of the DSP and then layered it on there, but I think it came out all right. And then just use some of the Designer Series paper on the front panel, and I can put my holiday message on the inside here. So this is what we're going to start with today. So I took a piece of very vanilla cardstock, cut it in half and folded so that we have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. And then I took my front flap and scored this at 2 1/8, I want to say. At the first 8th line, I scored and folded it backwards, giving us sort of a Z-fold card. And this is where we're going to layer our soft suede card stock and the Designer Series paper. So we cut a piece of soft suede at 4 inches by 5 1/4 for the inside. Another piece of very vanilla at 4 inches by 5 1/4 for the inside. And then using our curvy keepsake dies that we highlighted last week, I just used this little filigree design die and laid it on the edge of my very vanilla and die cut it out so that when I lay it on top of the brown, you're going to be able to see the design in there a little bit. Okay. So we have that piece. Then we needed a piece of soft suede for on the front flap. And this piece will measure 5 1/4 by 1 and, boy, I don't do measurements well, 7/8. 1 7/8 wide. And then my Designer Series paper is 5 1/8 inch long by 1 3/4 inch, and that'll layer right on top of our soft suede panel. Okay. I used the Stitch So Sweetly dies to cut out some of the shapes that I wanted to put my greetings on. And then we have just the poinsettia die cut base. And this is the one that I just showed you where we used the 2 dies together so that we got a little bit of embossing on each petal. And I'm going to just shape that a little bit, give it a little bit of dimension so that it doesn't just lay flat on our card. And then using the largest and the second largest flower stamps, I stamped with Bumblebee ink. and stamped off one time so that I didn't get a yellow poinsettia. I just wanted to have a little bit of color to my flower. Get another sheet of paper here. Bumblebee, stamped it off once, and stamp a very light poinsettia. Then using the second flower stamp, I did the same thing. Stamped off once, and made another very light flower. I ran those through, excuse me, the die cut machine and ended up with two small petals. Sorry, two small layers. I'm going to bend my petals again. And this really does make a huge difference in the appearance of the flower rather than just leaving them flat. And then I'm going to glue my layers together, offsetting the petals. Well, that one's a little crooked. What did I do? So we had, I worked getting cards ready because we had our craft fair this past weekend for Relay for Life, and had several people stop at the table and chatted with them. And if you're any of those folks that I talked to, welcome. And to my friends who came out to visit with me and see what was going on, it was good to see you. And I'm just using a dab of liquid glue. Layering the poinsettia petals. And then because I was using Bumblebee and my pearl elements are on silver, I didn't really want a silver center. And so I still have some gold glitter enamel dots. So you can use anything that you might have. And on my original card, I put one large one. I think though I'm going to put like 3 small ones. See how that looks. Okay. What I didn't get time to do this morning before we've gone on here was to cut any leaves out. But I have a trick for that we'll get to in the next card. So I will go back to my original one and to this one and add either some leaves or some other element to it just to dress it up a little bit. I think some old olive leaves would probably be pretty. Okay, set you aside for a minute while we put the card together. So we have our soft suede 4 by 5 1/4. Oh, that's not nice. That was mean. I don't want to tear my paper. Go. I think I went just a little too fast. It wasn't ready for that first thing in the morning. And kind of center this on my inside panel. Come on, which is not easy to do when I'm not in front of it. There we go, it's better. And this is the very vanilla piece that I die cut with our curvy keepsake die. And I'm going to line this up on the inside fold. And there you can see how your background color, and you don't have to use brown, you can use Bumblebee probably would look pretty too, the yellow, but it'll show through the die cut pieces. Okay. Sure, this is scored nice. And I have my soft suede panel for the front and a little piece of the designer series paper. And we'll center that on the panel. And then add that panel to the front of our card. One of the topics that gets discussed at OnStage is how to build your team. And I am still trying to grow our online stamp club. So if you're a stamper or a scrapbooker and you're looking for a group to stamp with, again, feel free to reach out to Boho Stamper. And I'd like to get started on a day where we could do, maybe not, we can't really get together right now to stamp, but we could do a take and make where if we had a stamp set to work on together, I could have all the pieces ready for you and we could make arrangements to either swap off, I can hand them to you, or you could pick them up on the porch and then we could have our day of stamping together. Sometimes it's just a lot easier if you have friends that you're stamping with. Adding your greeting panel on the front of the card, remember that we only want to add adhesive to the one side so that we don't end up gluing our card shut. Yeah, so I'd love to get back to the day where we could stamp together. And maybe if we have friends who aren't on Facebook and they would like to be a part, maybe we could make arrangements and do Zoom calls. That might be a little easier for some folks. Then I'll just use a Stampin' Dimensional on the back of our poinsettia. And then whatever leaves or elements we decide to add, that'll be easy enough to add a little bit of glue on the stems and stick underneath there when we go to spruce that up. And here's our first card. second card is the one that I showed the pearl elements on. And for this one, oh, if I can reach everything. I don't know if you saw my blouse sleeve a little bit there, but I kind of matched the boho indigo kit. Not intentional, but when I was thinking about getting set up here, I was like, oh, that matches my paper. I have that. Yep. This was the boho indigo kit available in the see, it matches my top. And I didn't even plan that. Oh, look, there's a little vellum we could use. Where'd that other one go? Oh, that might just do it. Look at that. I'll have to see if I have more green vellum scraps and cut some of those little leaves out. Oh, that would be a pretty accent on there. Sometimes it helps to clean your craft room. I found my boho set yesterday. Can run across all kinds of things you didn't realize you had. Okay, back to the matter at hand. So this card is more of the flocked vellum, and this is just that design paper rather than the poinsettia or the leaves. And so I started out with an old olive card base. Again, my standard half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock that I cut in half, scored and folded so that we have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. Then I took a piece of the vellum and cut that to 4 by 5 1/4. The only thing you want to remember when you're using vellum is where you place your adhesive on the back, because more often than not, eventually that adhesive is going to show. We're lucky enough on this card, we have enough covering the top of it. We have a lot of real estate underneath to add glue. So we're going to add a little bit of Stampin' Seal Plus up where the poinsettia flower will be, and then down on the lower right where our greeting will be. And that'll be enough to hold this panel in place without allowing it to move at all, and the adhesive is going to be covered up. Okay. Another specialty paper that was offered this year was red velvet paper. Pretty stuff. And I think you can still get this. Just beautiful red velvet paper. And the item number is 153490, in case you want to hurry up and run over and grab some of that after you see this, because I'll tell you, the Poinsettia Suite really just makes elegant cards. And I used, we didn't have to do any stamping for this. I used the 3 sets of dies. Remember, this is an inside and an outside. And there's that stupid ink that got all over everything. I'm really hoping it doesn't come out anymore on anything else I cut out, because it really was stuck on the rollers, I think. I don't know. And that really didn't take me too long to figure out which way was up anyway. Ran these through my emboss and die cutting machine. And ended up with embossed flowers again, making it very easy to manipulate the petals. Give them a little bit of texture and dimension. All 3 layers here. Yeah, so I said about next week using some of those techniques in some of my old Christmas sets that I already have. Like, I think Brightly Gleaming would be a good one. And Twill Tidings from last year. Oh, that's carried over actually into this year, but I still have that one. And then after Christmas last year, I had seen a card someplace that was like an old vintage style one. I can't remember the name of it even, but I ended up finding it on eBay. But I got that and it was after Christmas, so I'm planning on using that to make some of my personal cards this year. I love vintage stuff. Christmas in the making. So it's got this girl or lady, and she has these vintage outfits on. I just love that. So maybe I'll try to incorporate that next week into something. I don't know. I thought this one would be, well, not her because she has a hat on. If I got rid of the Christmas bulb, she looks like she should be taking cookies out of the oven. That's part of the fun. Just putting stuff together that you have and coming up with something new. I love old stuff. My husband and I, well, before COVID anyway, Sundays were always our day. And we would try to head out to some antique shop or vintage flea market or something. Usually ending up buying something that we didn't need just because we both like that stuff. But that's what makes life fun. Okay, where did I put those little pearls now? And I think I used a glue dot for my pearls. I'm going to put a couple on this one. Make sure it sticks. Right. And where did I put? Oh, I did. Okay. And so we stamped some old olive leaves. And I stamped these on old olive paper. I gotta find the right one. We have some holly leaves and we have, there it is, We have an inside and an outside leaf. Ooh, I have a hair on there. And so using a scrap of old olive, I used the detailed stamp with the veins in the leaf and stamped full strength. And I might use these on that other card too that I hadn't decided what to put on there. And then I use the inside filler stamp. Stamped it off on a piece of scrap paper first. And then filled in and it really doesn't give a lot of color to the leaf, but that's okay. We're not trying to color it in because we already have old olive paper. We're just trying to make some different shades. Okay, and then I ran those through the emboss and cut machine. Again, the dies for these leaves leave a little bit of embossing up the middle, so we can bend them a bit. And then I just use my bone folder and soften the edges. Although holly leaves are kind of stiff, I probably didn't need to do that because this poinsettia though looks like a holly leaf to me. There is pretty holly paper in this set. Alrighty, so we have our panel that we put the flocked paper on. Get the ink off my finger before I make a mess. And again, I used the Stitch So Sweetly dies and cut out my greeting someplace. Boy, do I have a mess on this table. It looked so pretty yesterday, but we've taken care of that. There it is. Okay, got that. We have our poinsettia, our leaves, and then I wanted a little something something. So I dug out from the Forever Fern Suite. We had, sorry, I had to set these aside because they kind of were flying all over the place. We had a specialty gold die cut paper available to us then with that suite. And in the suite we got some die cut panels out that are great just for making like the background of a card. But there's also little leaves, and I have not used all my little leaves. Now I punched all these out, that's why they're so flimsy. They come in a sheet. I punched them all out already. And there were also these little gold berry leaves or stems. And I decided to add a couple of those to my poinsettia to dress it up a little bit. You could, oh, that's even pretty. Maybe I'll add that one instead on this card, just to make it a little different. We'll save the berries for maybe the white card. Oh, so many options. Decisions. That's the problem. I like it all. Okay, so let's put our card together. We use a dimensional and stick the poinsettia to the front. And I'll use some dimensionals on the back of my greeting here. It's getting a little late. I'm going to get this one done and show you one more, which is super simple. And the only reason I put that on first is so that I could kind of fit my leaves in around it. I'll just use my bone folder to press those bases down. Ooh, get back there. That's going to take a minute for the glue to stick to the flocked paper. Could use probably glue dots, but yeah, I think I like that. I think I need to trim it a little bit though. Those are my sticky scissors. Can't use them. Be lucky if I ever get them open again. And I'll add a tiny bit of glue to these little gold branches. Yeah, for the demonstrators who registered for Onstage, we actually, I don't know if that one's sticking. We actually got to, well, it was a little bit, but we're gonna speed it up. Pre-order some of our new mini catalog items before they're available to demonstrators, which is always before they're available to customers. So those new items will be coming hopefully next week. And I won't be able to show you the items or the catalog or anything, but I can show you what gets created with them so that you'll know what you want to get ordered as soon as you get your catalog, maybe. And stick that one over on the other leaf. And so there's card number 2. Alrighty. And for card number 3 today. Card number 3, I used some of the Designer Series paper. And then in that fern suite of papers, there was also some gold background elements. And they have a center on them where you could add your greeting. You could add a stamped card-based greeting or whatever you want to do on the front of it. I just thought that, I don't know why I'm liking the gold with the poinsettias, and I thought this gold would really be pretty for the backdrop of a poinsettia. And so, I won't take you through all the cutting and stuff again. I started with a Whisper white card base for this one. And then my background on this one, I made just a little bit bigger. I think I made it a 1/16 of an inch smaller than my card base because I only want a tiny bit of white to show through. Or did I make it the same? I need to even trim it. I think I need to trim a hair off the bottom there. I just really wanted to showcase the white poinsettia and not have to add a whole lot of leaves and color or anything. As a matter of fact, I didn't even add a greeting to the front of this card. I'll include my message on my inside. But, oh, there's the other side of this Designer Series paper, is the pretty holly paper that is in the pack of the Poinsettia DSP. Okay. And so, sorry if I pulled this back out of frame. I just was trying to make it as even as possible. And I even think my light is telling me hurry up. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's as bright as it's gonna get today. There we go. All right, and then my gold panel, I just added a little adhesive to the center of it, and it fits beautifully right in the center of a card base. Again, bending my petals on my poinsettia. And for the center of this one also, I went back to using the gold enamel dots because I used my gold base here. And didn't want to add the silver back pearls. So you can make your poinsettias any color you like. I think I may try to do a silver and blue. I think I still have some old DSP from, I think it was Frosted Foliage or something. And that might be pretty with silver instead of gold. just added one of the large gold dots to the center of this, well, to the center. That's better. And then again, on this one I did not add dimensionals, I just used glue dots. And centered it on my, oh, what did I get on there? My gold background. And that was the easiest of the three. But all in all, it ended up being my favorite. So there's your cards for today. Our third one that we made. The second one with our vellum background. And our first one with the stamped poinsettia. I'll have to go find some vellum and cut out some little leaves. I think I like that. And then the one that I didn't like. So I hope this inspired you today to make some cards. And don't forget to mail them once you make them, because remember, you may be the one who puts a smile on somebody's face, and that always makes everybody happy. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you next week, and thanks for joining me. Bye.